Howdy everyone. So I've got a couple of quick updates here. The stick boots that you can see are now installed. And again, no big deal, just 4 holes and some screws. The washers, so I used button head screws. They're Allen heads, button. And the washers are actually Tinnerman washers. Let me get in frame here. The washers are actually Tinnerman washers that I flipped upside down. I didn't want to try to dimple or countersink the this metal frame that's underneath this leather. So I just took the Tinnerman washer and flipped it upside down and used that. And of course I didn't over tighten it because I didn't want to recess this washer into the soft leather or otherwise distort these areas where the bolt goes through. So they are in and they function, and that's all I plan on doing with those at the moment. The other thing that I have done is I permanently installed the armrest. So there's one over there. That's the obviously that's the passenger armrest. I've got the pilot armrest in as well. Those are in to stay. And again, no big deal. It's the armrests have come with studs installed. There are 3 studs. And there's also a little bit of, it's like 1/4 inch, maybe 3/16, probably closer to 3/16 thick foam pad that goes between the metal aluminum armrest and this armrest. That piece is loose and it's pre-drilled and matched to the studs. So I just use that foam piece as a template to lay out my 3 holes and then drilled them, put the foam back over the studs underneath the armrest, and then drop the whole thing down and bolt it from underneath. These armrests only came with some thin profile regular nuts, no lock nuts, no lock washers of any kind. So I pitched those regular thin nuts, and I went with thin nylon lock nuts and a thin metal washer to put those in. And I also permanently installed my comm antenna underneath. I don't know if there's going to be a glare, but that's it. Let's see if I can get it from this angle. That's it there. This is my comm antenna, this white thing here, and it comes down. That was a real, what can I say? Call it a challenge, I suppose, because it is, and you're not going to be able to see down in there, I don't think. But anyway, it comes up between the wing spars in the middle of the fuselage. So that was a lot of fun, trying to reach down in there from the top and get the insulating washers, the regular washers, the lock washers, the nuts, the actual wires for the antenna, all of that. But it's in, and again, that should be permanent. I don't see any reason to take it back out at this time. So that's what I had been working on, and I think what I'm going to move on to now are I'm not really sure what they're called, but there are, instead of using the Van's recommended wood stiffeners on the gear legs, I'm going to go with metal. I'll get into that when I get into it, but it's not my idea. I saw it on the forums, and I'm going to try to adapt that to my gear legs. And like I said, I'll get into that here in a second, but I think that's what I'm going to do next. And we'll see how that goes. So I think I'll get started on that right away, and I'll talk to you guys here shortly. Howdy everyone. Well, I lied in my last video. I said that I was going to start the gear leg stiffeners next, and I don't have all the material that I need to do that. So while I wait yet again, I am going to move on to the actual gear leg fairings. Now, I know nothing about these fairings. I have never done any kind of work like this. And Unfortunately, I don't think the written instructions are that great, and I don't believe that the actual drawing that you see spread out here is all that informative. Now, granted, I haven't gotten into it yet. It may make more sense to me as I go, but I did a real super quick check on the forums, and most people tend to agree that the gear leg fairings is the instructions are kind of lacking. It's not real crystal clear how to proceed. So I'm going to walk through this as best I can. There are obviously 2 gear legs, so I think I'll do the entire process with 1 gear leg just for me to work through it. And then if I'm happy with how that turns out and I'm happy with the steps that I chose to take, I'll actually videotape the second leg, because then of course I know that the material that I'm putting out there on my channel is somewhat usable. So I'm going to start with this first gear leg. I'm going to work my way through it the best I can, and when I move on to the second gear leg, I'll actually do some videotaping. However, one of the things that you need to do when you look at your full-size print, this template, well, let me go on the other side because this is actually upside down. So this is drawing C3, and this is referenced in the written material, in the written instructions. So this print, you can see here that this is the main gear leg fairing trim template and it's full scale. The written instructions actually tell you to cut this out. There are different lines here for different types of airplanes. So whatever aircraft you're building, you cut this full-size template out for your specific airplane, and then you wrap it around the gear leg itself, and then that gives you your different lines that you need to trim and do different things with. So since that's the first step, is to actually cut this out of the print itself, I wanted to get that on film now because obviously I can't cut this out twice. So again, I've already done some prep work on this gear leg. You can see I got some tape on it. I'll get into all of that when I do the second leg. I don't want to talk about the processes that I'm using because ultimately I don't know if they're going to work. So I'm not going to film any of that yet until I know for sure that they're good. But you need to cut out this full-size template from the drawing. So what I do, if I don't have someone to help me, I'll go ahead and you can see I've got the actual plan taped to my workbench. I've got tape here holding the print from moving, and then I've got my straight edge lined up on the edge that I'm actually going to cut. Once I have it lined up and I'm happy with it, I also tape it in place. So I got the written instructions are secure, they won't move. I've got my straight edge now secure, it won't move, and I can go ahead and make my cut. So I'm going to cut this template out, and then I'll get this gear leg stuff figured out, hopefully. And I'll get back to you guys at some point with some video, and we'll see how things go. Talk to you later.